Man, NFL football is back, ladies and gentlemen. It is back. It has been a long off season, man. Today we are breaking down the AFC, who's going to win each division, and also give you a Super Bowl pick. A lot of changes have happened in the AFC this year. We got Aaron Rodgers coming over to the New York Jets. Does that change things up? Are the Bills, who is quietly, nobody's talking about the Bills. Have they missed their Super Bowl window? What about the Dolphins? What about the Browns? What about the Ravens? The Bengals are still out there, man. And what about the Chargers and Chiefs? Man, let's get into this thing and see who is going to make it to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. Let's get into this. All right, man. Thank you guys again for joining Big B Sports Talk. As always, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate everything that you guys have done for us up to this point. We keep pushing these podcasts out. This was one that you guys had requested. I'm on Twitter, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. Anything there, we're on YouTube, we're on TikTok. Anywhere that you get social media, you can find Big B Sports Talk. So I appreciate that. So let's dive into this, man. Let's get into it. AFC it's about as tough as I can remember. I mean, you've got the Chiefs, you've got the Bengals, the Ravens, the Chargers are going to be good, the Jets, the Dolphins, the Bills, the Steelers, the Browns have a crazy roster. All these teams, I think, have an opportunity. I know I'm leaving out the Jags. I get that part too. We'll dive into that as we go along. There's just a lot of good football teams in the AFC, a lot of really good quarterback play in the AFC. So let's take a deep dive and kind of find out who's what and who's going to win. And we also, at the end, we got a Super Bowl pick, man, and it might just surprise you. So first thing is, let's take a look at the AFC North. I still think the Bengals are the class of that division. Yes, they lost some secondary pieces at the safety position that were big pieces. That absolutely happened. But I think the Bengals as a whole, their defense is still really good. Really good. If they can find, I'm not going to say necessarily replace, but if they can find some guys to stopgap, because the guys that they lost are really good. But if they can find some people in there that can do a decent job, that Bengals defense is still going to be good, because that front seven is crazy. It's really underrated, in my opinion. But the Bengals defense is what's carried them in the playoffs. I know a lot of people think it's Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow has come up with clutch plays in the playoffs, clutch throws in the playoffs. But when you actually think about what's kept them close in football games, it's been that defense. That defense has been there. It's rock solid. Like I said, that front seven is really good. I think the Bengals are still the class, as much as it pains me to say, they're still the class of the AFC North. Now, next, I still like the Ravens. I think this is a big bounce back year for Lamar Jackson, or it better be. It better be. Look, Lamar Jackson doesn't have any more excuses. And I'm a Lamar Jackson fan, but you can't get paid. You can't get all the weapons. They're turning the offense over to you. And if you can't produce, then what? I mean, like I said, there's no more excuses. I still believe that the Ravens defense isn't as gaudy. I think it's more based on reputation than it actually is. I know Roquan Smith is there. He's still outstanding middle linebacker. But I think their defense is built a little bit more on reputation than how much it actually is good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying they have a bad defense, so slow down, Ravens fans. All I'm saying is I'm not sure that it's up to par as what we've seen other Ravens defenses be. But there's, just like I mentioned before, there's no more excuses for Lamar Jackson. He's got to be able to get it done this year. And I think actually he will. I think he will. I think he's going to be in the running for the MVP. I think this is a big bounce back year. Got to stay healthy. You know, that's a narrative that's out there that he's always hurt. Although the last 2 years, I mean, he has been hurt at the end of the year. Now, the previous 3, not so much. But the last 2, yeah, it's been a problem. So got to stay healthy. If he does, the Ravens will be there at the end. Third in the division, look, I'm not going to lie. I think the Steelers are going to win 10 games. Yes, I'm a Steelers homer. Yes. But if you look at what the Steelers put together on paper, how fast that team is now, look at their schedule. The Steelers are going to be there. 10 games, I believe, should be the floor for the Steelers. 10 games should be the floor. And the ceiling is 12. They have an opportunity to do some things here. Now, I'm not saying that that's guaranteed to happen. You know how football works. But at the same time, if you just look at what the Steelers have, number one, you know their defense is going to be rock solid. If healthy, just like any football team, but if healthy, the defense is rock solid. If Kenny Pickett takes the next step, it was preseason, so don't get excited. But if he plays like that during the regular season, the Steelers are going to be really good. The line is absolutely better, which has been holding them back basically the last 3 years. Steelers' offensive line has been atrocious at best. If that changes, I'm telling you, the Steelers got something. Now, look, I know Browns fans are going to be killing me, beating me up, smacking me around because the Browns have a good roster. They do. I'm still picking them fourth because they're the Browns. Until I see it, I'm not going to believe it. Until I see it, I am just not going to believe it. And I'm not saying the Browns can't be good. I'm not saying that at all. But we know what they've done in the past when they're supposed to be good. Like they got a plague over the franchise. Well, hopefully, and maybe not hopefully. I'm a Steelers fan. What am I talking about? Who am I kidding? I don't care if the Browns are any good or not. But bottom line is, I'm picking them last, but that doesn't mean they're even going to have a bad year. You know, this division, I believe, is the toughest in football. I mean, they could have a winning record and still finish fourth. That can happen. So I don't want Browns fans out there blowing me up in the chat, blowing me up in Twitter, saying I don't know what I'm talking about. Look, I get it. But the bottom line is, until I see it, I'm just not going to believe it. And not only that, they could have a winning record and still finish fourth in the division, which actually is what I'm predicting. So that's the order for the AFC North. We got the Bengals, we got the Ravens, we got the Steelers, and we got the Browns. Moving on. So AFC South, look, I think it's a two-team race. And I'll start at the bottom here. The Colts are going to be horrible. The Colts are going to be horrible. The owner's a mess. The franchise is just in turmoil right now. It's an absolute nightmare. If they win 4 games, it'll be a miracle. 4 is their ceiling. They're starting the wrong quarterback. It's not that Richardson can't be good, but his lower body mechanics are atrocious at best. He needs a year to figure that out. Look, I've said it all along. He knows where to go with the football. He's good at the whiteboard. You know, he's got a cannon. He's super athletic. But when your lower body mechanics are that bad, you're inaccurate with the football. High, low, right, left. I mean, it's just facts. It's not hating. It's not anything other than saying he needs a while to learn and to get those things underway. But the owner, he's insisting on him playing. So this is what you're going to get. And like I said, 4 games for the Colts. The Texans, they're going to fight. And if anybody's been paying attention the last 2 years, while the Texans haven't been good because our roster is terrible, they fought for Lovie Smith and David Culley. I'm not saying those guys deserve to have the job. What I am saying is that those teams fought for those coaches. So they played right to the bitter end. So I like the Texans. 5, maybe 6 wins. They're not going to win any more than that. Their roster is still not very good. No weapons on the outside. It's tricky. Rookie quarterback. But they got a good offensive line, a decent one. I mean, they got one of the best left tackles in football, so that doesn't hurt. You know, Larry Tunsil is very, very good. But outside of him, I'm just not sure how many really good football players they have right now. They got a good coach. He's going to have those guys playing hard. But look, the NFL, when you get to this level, you got to have good players. They just don't have good players right now. So I think they'll finish third. They'll finish above the Colts. maybe even tied for last, but they'll battle. They'll battle, but they won't win more than 5 games. Now, the next two can be tricky. The Jags and the Titans. And everybody is just falling all over themselves to give this division to the Jags. And I have to keep reminding people the Titans were literally a play away from winning the division and going to the playoffs last year with Joshua Dobbs, a guy that I think had been with the Titans like 3 weeks. And at the end of the year, he'd been there, I think 3 weeks or something like that. And they were a play away. They were on their 3rd quarterback, a play away from winning the division. So I'm just saying, don't count out the Titans in this division. I think the Jags will win it because I think the Jags are better. But don't just count out the Titans and act like they have no shot. This guaranteed for the Jags to win it. Hey, man, the way that the Titans play defense, I wouldn't count anything out. Mike Vrabel's a great football coach. I'm just saying, I don't like basket case Tannehill. I don't. I think he's a liability. I think Derrick Henry may be wearing down. But I don't know if Derrick Henry's wearing down. Let me rephrase that. Their offensive line's not good. But it hasn't been good. And he's still been able to do his thing. So we'll see. Hopkins is going to help them for sure. He is going to help them. Just like Ridley is going to help Jacksonville. So it's going to be a battle. I think Jacksonville pulls it out again by a 1 game. But the Titans are going to be there at the end. They play defense too well not to be there at the end. Play defense way too well. So that's the order. Jags, Titans, Texans, Colts. Let's move on again. Just want to remind everybody, Big B Sports Talk, come subscribe. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. Come on over here. Subscribe to the channel, man. We appreciate everything that everybody has done for us to this point. Thank you for tuning in. So let's go to the East. Man, is the East loaded. And we're going to start at the bottom again. The Patriots, no. I know there's a lot of Patriots fans that think they're going to win 9, 10 games. No, you're not. If you get to 7, think of that as a win. If you get to 7 wins, be happy. The Patriots are not good. Their roster isn't talented. Their quarterback play is average at best. Yeah, Tom O'Brien is there. And that will help. I'm not saying that won't help because Jiminy Christmas, you had a defensive coordinator and a special teams coordinator, running the offense last year. With a second-year quarterback that, is he good? Is he not good? I don't know. They cut the backup. I believe they cut the backup because they didn't want fans clamoring for the backup over Mac Jones. I think that's why they put Zappe on the practice squad. Because you only get so many call-ups a year from the practice squad. So why would you put this guy who was your backup and put him on the practice squad? It doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. Bottom line is, I don't think the Pats are going to be very good. I think their defense will keep them in a lot of games, but their offense won't be good enough to be able to do anything. So they're going to finish last in this division. Now, next, I got the Jets, and I know the Jets. They're the darlings of the AFC. I get it, but they're not the darlings to me. They're still the Jets. Just like I was talking about the Browns. That until I see it, I'm not going to believe it. And I've seen that offensive line of the Jets, and it is not good. It is not good. So, can they play better? Sure. Go out there and prove it. But we've seen it, and I'm just not, I'm not satisfied with it. I'm not. I know a lot of people think they're going to be better than the Dolphins, but I don't think so. And here's the reason why. I think Fangio gets that Dolphins defense to play crazy. I think Big Fangio, and this is without Jalen Ramsey. And I can be honest. I had the Dolphins as the division winner before Ramsey went down. And Ramsey's not coming back. He blew his meniscus. That's a 4-month injury minimum, 4 to 6 months. He's not coming back. I know they say December. I would say he probably doesn't come back at all this year. But that's the reason I don't have the Dolphins even higher than second. But the Jets aren't better than the Dolphins. Their defense is going to be good, yes. But till I see that offensive line play better, I'm not putting them above the Dolphins. The Dolphins still have a ton of firepower. They have that. And if Tua can stay upright, then I think they've got something. Look, everybody rags on Tua about his arm, but Tua's pretty accurate with that football. And no, he doesn't throw the ball 60 yards, 65 yards down the field. He doesn't do that. He's not capable of doing that. But how he is very effective is those weapons that he's got, Hill and Waddle, hitting those guys on slant routes and just getting the ball to them in space, on time, accurately. Tua's very good at that, man. Very good at that. So the Dolphins, I think, come in second. And, the Bills, nobody's talking about them. Yeah, Stephon Diggs, there's reports that he doesn't want to be there, but he's there. So, what's he going to go out there and tank? I don't think he's going to do that. And they got some issues, I think, running the ball. My thing is they got to start giving the ball to running backs in Buffalo. You're going to get Josh Allen killed because Josh Allen doesn't know that he's not a running back. He's a big guy, but ask Cam Newton how long that lasts trying to run through linebackers. Your career doesn't last that long. Cam had a fine career for 8 years, and he was done after 6. You can't just run through everybody, man. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. You can't run through everybody. And you could see it last year. Josh Allen was beat up at the end of the year. Yeah, he played bad. I'm not saying that he didn't, but he was beat up. He was beat up. They got to start running the ball with running backs. Get a running game going with running backs. He doesn't run the ball the same way that Lamar Jackson does. You don't see Lamar Jackson trying to run over linebackers. Josh Allen does that, man. It's not going to last. He can't do that. But I still think they have enough. I like the offense. I think, again, another bounce back year for somebody. I think Josh Allen's got a lot to prove. I think he's got a lot to prove, and I think he does it. So I got the Bills, the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Patriots in that order. Last but not least, the West. And again, we'll start at the bottom. Let's just get this out of the way. The Raiders are going to be awful. The Raiders are going to be up there for one of the worst teams in football. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. They're bad. Their offensive, defensive lines are bad. Max Crosby is their lone pass rusher. They have nothing else. The Raiders are a bad team. Heck, the Raiders wanted to fire the coach. They don't even have enough money to get rid of the coach. So that's why he didn't get let go last year. Oh, my God, just a team in turmoil. The Raiders they're bad. And I know Raider fans are going to be all over me, and that's fine. Come with it. I'm there. Your franchise is horrible. You're horrible. And here's the thing. Football is better when the Raiders are good. Football is better when the Raiders are good. So from Big B to Raider fans and the Raider organization, get it together. We want to see you be good. Get it together. Jiminy Christmas. Now, moving on. Broncos, let Russ cook. Oof. I don't know. You let Russ cook. I know it's a cliche here lately, but he may burn your house down. Didn't look great in preseason. At the end, he played a little bit better. Sean Payton is going to help him tremendously. I don't know what was going on last year other than they had one of the worst coaches that I think I've ever seen. Look, Sean Payton shouldn't have said it. I get it, but I was here for it, and he was right. Hackett had no business being a head coach. He was awful. And that's saying something because Brandon Staley is in his division, and he's one of the worst coaches out there as well. But, yeah, it was just a disaster in Denver last year. Just a disaster. So Sean Payton's going to help. They'll be better. You know their defense is going to be good because Denver's defense is good. If they can get anything from the offense, run the ball more, move the ball more, complete more passes, just be a better offense in general. If they can do that, the Broncos can get to 8-9 wins. They can get there. The defense is that talented. So we'll see. They still got weapons. We'll see. As that offensive line plays better, the offensive line's got to be better. But the Broncos have an opportunity here to kind of do some things and be better. Now, the Chargers and the Chiefs, look, the Chiefs are going to win the division. I believe the Chiefs are still the class of this division, even without Chris Jones. Now, they're going to need Chris Jones, though. To do real damage, they're going to need him. They're going to need him. You got to be able to stop the run, get pressure up the middle with a pass rush. They got to be able to do those things. He brings all that to the table. I don't know which way it's going to go. I saw a report yesterday, and I'd been reporting the same kind of thing, just not with these numbers. When you take into account the fines from missing all preseason, the workout bonus that he just gave up, and then possibly sitting out 8 games, plus 2 weeks for him to get ramped up. The Chiefs can also hold money for those 2 weeks for him to get into decent shape. It's like $13.8 million that he's going to possibly give up to hold out. $13.8 million to try to get a new contract. And all this talk about I can afford it is some of the dumbest stuff that I've ever heard. Ask Le'Veon Bell how that worked. Look, I was there. I've been a Steeler fan my whole life. He never made that money back because you can never make it back. I don't care how much money you sign for. It's dumb. If he doesn't want to be there, just play the year and then move on next year. But even if he sits out these games, if the Chiefs want to franchise him and trade him, he can still get franchised, and his franchise number goes down because it's based off the number of games that you play and what your salary is and what you got paid that previous year. So I don't know. It sounds like you got some of the worst either agents or financial advisors in the world. But the Chiefs, they need them to do damage in the playoffs, but I still think they win the division. The Chargers will be second. I like the Chargers. I like the Chargers. I think the Chargers roster is one of the best in football. Look, I've been all over Herbert. I said, look, you can't lose a 27-0 lead in the playoffs. A lot of people want to blame it on the defense, and I'm not saying the defense wasn't at fault, but the defense is also responsible for getting you that lead. You can't complete enough passes to win that game? Come on, man. I mean, I'm one of those that said Herbert's been anointed to superstar status without superstar results, if that makes sense. And while I like Herbert, he's got to show it. And I think this is the year that he does. I think they have a great regular season. I believe that defense is going to get after it. Now, everybody's got to stay healthy. That's been part of their problem. If they can stay healthy, the Chargers got something. Now, another thing about the Chargers, I'd mentioned this earlier, Brandon Staley. He just got to get out of the way. If he can get out of the way and stop all the nerd, analytical, bad football, then the Chargers can win. But if he gets in the way like he gets in the way, it'll still be trouble. Maybe he's learned. I think he has. I think the Chargers make the playoffs. And as you can see, as my Super Bowl pick, I'm picking the Chargers. Look, call me crazy. Say whatever you want. You look at roster for roster. Nobody's going to have a quarterback as good as Mahomes or Burrow. You don't. You don't have a quarterback that good. And the Chargers don't either. But their quarterback's really good. And if their roster is healthy and they can run the football with Eckler and they can throw it to Allen and Williams, I'm just telling you, they are a very, very dangerous team. Nobody's going to pick the Chargers to make the Super Bowl. Big B is going to pick the Chargers to make the Super Bowl. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you joining in today, man. Again, as always, like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff, man. I appreciate your support, and we will see you again soon.